What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Rollercoaster Tycoon theme park build for what is now called Last Resort. Shout out to Kenneth from the Rollercoaster Tycoon fan group on Facebook for the name suggestion. I thought that was pretty funny because, I want to say though, I do think this is going to be a little bit better than I'd like to think it's going to be Last Resort because you're never going to want to go anywhere else because of how amazing this resort's going to be. So I didn't actually plan on it being a resort necessarily. I thought it was just going to be a normal theme park, but I think now that it's going to be it's going to be a resort theme. I think that's going to be a good. That means I'm going to build a resort hotel. So I mean, if you watch the last video, it's 3 kind of smaller islands that are connected by by strips of land. I think on the largest island at the top of that hill, I think would be a good place to put a little hotel. Yeah, so that's the plan for this series. All I really had in mind was just a tropical sort of theme park, island themed thing. But now that I have something a little bit more concrete, I think I'm actually pretty excited for this now. I was excited anyway, but I'm going to be even more excited now. So the bulk, honestly, most of this video was just kind of, adding in some more details on that land strip, kind of going into the park, and then the rest of it, I really just spent designing. I can't really call it a main street necessarily, but like a little, I don't know, not a river walk either, but just like a sort of stretch of buildings that are, kind of have a front facade, and have like that sort of that main street look to them, but they obviously can only go on one side because it's right up against the water. But I thought I'd do something kind of similar to that. I actually, I designed this whole building and then kind of scrapped it. I thought, this isn't really what I want. You'll see later in the video where I did that. And then I also just started with a merry-go-round. I tend to go with a merry-go-round first. I just think it's a good way to, just kind of introduce like a little kid ride into the park, and it's just a nice, easy way to transition into the front of the park. I don't know why and it's just like a nice little ride. I just like the way it looks, and that's it. So basically, the entire video is just this ride, and then the kind of shops and stalls along that little not boardwalk, but that area next to the ocean. And I really tried to go in and make sure everything was very detailed and had a lot of really small little pieces on there that made it look a little bit more interesting. And this one I'm gonna do a little bit more custom scenery objects. I did a lot in Westworld, but I did stick to a lot of NCSO in that series. But so this one's gonna have a little bit more custom scenery objects. Just because it's something that I always say I'm going to do more scenery. I'm going to do more custom scenery, and then the time comes to do more custom scenery, and I never do it. So this time I'm going to commit to it and really spend a lot of time kind of making these buildings very detailed and making all my station platform buildings real detailed, and just overall making some really realistic looking buildings in this series. I'm going for hyper realism here. In fact, I might even redo that front entrance building because it looks a little bit unrealistic, if I'm honest. So we might be doing something a little different later. But I was really, really happy with the way these buildings turned out. There's 3 buildings that kind of line this front area of the park. If you turn right at the front entrance, these will kind of these are eventually going to lead to the first roller coaster. I'm also kind of trying to plan out ahead of time what each ride is going to be. And the main thing I really wanted to do was to put a roller coaster kind of looping over the path and interacting with the path, and maybe having a bit come out over the water, kind of in that shallower end. And who knows, maybe it might be a roller coaster that does both, and I want them to go behind this building and just sort of really make a point of interaction with the terrain and interaction with the pathway. So that's the plan in terms of ride building, in terms of roller coaster building. But for the most part, these these buildings are just designed to be facades at the front. They're just supposed to look kind of ornate and just, you know, like a main street, sort of. Like I said before, it's going to be sort of a main street area that's heavily themed, but obviously it's just the front side that's themed. At most theme parks, in a main street area will be all the buildings leading into the park will have this super detailed front, and then the back side has no detailing at all, because why would you need? No one's going to go back there anyway, and no one's going to see it. So that's something that actually is going to help me a lot in this series. Like, I didn't actually realize that a lot of buildings don't even have a backside. I've been spending time adding windows to the backsides of all my buildings, and then I realized, like, oh, I actually don't need to okay, well, the whole time I didn't actually need to do that. So these front two buildings, one is an info kiosk and one's a restroom, and then this will be sort of a restaurant. This will be like the little oceanside grill restaurant area. The only thing is I wasn't able to fit a sign on here anywhere in a place that kind of worked, so I might end up having to figure out another way to stick a sign on here. There was no good way to get a sign onto this building that looked natural. But hopefully, eventually we can find a way to get something to work. But the entire process for this was just trying to make this look like a real restaurant would look, and I tried to kind of, I don't know, like I tried to have like a design that's kind of different than what I normally do. I wanted to do something that didn't look the same as any other building I made in the past. So the main, like a main feature that I see in a lot of these restaurants is like sort of an upstairs balcony. That's kind of a beachfront restaurant usually has something like that. And especially in like a resort like this. I know it's called Last Resort and that it's supposed to be bad, but this one's going to be good. It's going to be so good that, again, nobody's ever going to want to go to another place, because this is the last one you'll ever go to because it's so great. And that's sort of the idea behind this. And the other part of building this specific building was I wanted to add in a lot of extra small details. Like I have that sort of crisscross pattern fence that goes along the side of each that goes like along the side of each facade, and just make it look a little bit more, I don't know, like a more finished, more done. I don't know. There's something to just making it look a little bit like it's finished. There's no improvements to be made to it necessarily. Now that's not always, obviously you can never finish it completely, but I think this is a pretty good start for the most part. I think this is a great place to begin with. I think this looks like a solid restaurant. I think this looks like what I was going for, and I think this will bode well over time. So I think obviously as you look back on some of your parks later on, you kind of go, I don't like that, but I think this is one I'm going to be proud of. So yeah, that's going to be pretty much it for this video. That's kind of the end of my restaurant building and facade building, and that's going to be it. So if you guys enjoyed this video, make sure to subscribe, comment, all that stuff. And that's going to be it for me, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.